Hi, right, today we're going to paint this lovely balloon dog together. It's a really great one for practicing just picking up on shapes and building the layers piece by piece. I'm going to show you how to do it by running this image through what's called a tonal value tool. It's a website where it'll just split out all the tones into however many tonal values you want. And it's a process we're going to use for quite a few videos, so let's get going. Okay, we're going to go through this every single step of the way, right from the beginning. So we've got our studio pad here. This is Clairefontaine, very reasonably priced paper. I think it was like 20 quid for 100 sheets. From a really gorgeous little shop in Liverpool, England. Highly recommend it. They're very, very old. They've been there 160 years or something, and the lady who works in there proudly will tell you that they're older than Heinz beans, which is just adorable. Right, let's just tape this down so it won't move. So here's one I made earlier. We're going to use this as our base and trace it. I'm going to turn that light off. Let's close the curtain. And then I'm using this fantastic light box. So hopefully you can see there. It shines through, even through watercolour paper. So this is what we want. I need to turn another light off, so bear with. Okay, right, we are there. I'm going to use this pen. It's called Remove My Friction, or Friction, or that's it. There we are, look, Friction by Pilot. This one, and many others like it says, will disappear as soon as you apply heat, so by the medium of something like a hairdryer. Top tip when using these pens, don't press too hard. We don't want to actually leave a big impression. Also, I've done a very rookie mistake of not taping down my top piece. Okay, so let's look at this reference then. I'll get it up onto the screen for you. So you can see you've got loads of kind of really bright white highlights. We definitely want to capture those. But like I said in the intro, what we're doing with this one is putting this red image into that tonal value tool and letting the tonal value tool split out all those tones. So I've put 5, so this is splitting this out into 5 different tonal values, and it just makes building up those shapes a lot simpler. So for the first one, we're just going to do the entire first layer. I'm going to use these Winsor & Cotman paints. They're fabulous, really great student grade paints. I've been using this blue over and over again, so I'm just going to continue with this cute little palette. Nice dunk into the water there. I think it's this one, yes it is. This is a colour called Intense Blue by Winsor & Cotman. I'm just going to smush that into that one because it's fine. So I'm going to paint the whole thing with a very pale wash, which is essentially the lightest. This is perilous, isn't it? When you paint over the top of the watercolour paper. Oh, what a donkey thing to do. There we are, let's protect it with that. Fine. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to paint the whole thing, apart from those white highlights. So let's start, and we'll just do one kind of sausagey part of our balloon dog by one. So leaving that white highlight down there, fine. And then I'm going to do the next one. You can kind of, if you want to do like a shape first and then paint around it, you can do that, as long as you're quite quick so you're not staining your page. And let's do another shape up there. And I'm trying to work quite quickly. I'm just getting these layers on. So where are the white bits? In his nose. It's just a section there. Just going to put that in. Then as quickly as I can, just fill in the rest. Going to leave a tiny highlight in the little button on the end of his nose. And a little shape in there. So just wherever you can see those white highlights, leave a little shape and then quickly paint around it. Make a little shape. Paint around it. So this is quite a pale wash. We start light and we increase the tone as we go along. And that's because in watercolour you can paint on top of any light tone. You can't paint on top of a dark one and make it lighter, as a general rule. Just put a bit more pigment in just to give it a bit of a boost. Last little highlight is over here somewhere. Great. And we've got a very skinny highlight on the inside of that leg. Brill. So already I think this, leaving those little highlights already starts to give it a bit of dimension. So that's a real treat, but wait until you see what happens when we start adding the layers. Okay, what's next then? Layer 2. So looking at that version on the bottom, that's the tonal value piece that I put through the tonal value tool. And I'm going to try and find that next tone up and just paint that on. So I've done it for you, essentially. We're jumping the gun and I've cheated for you. So in there is that sort of blue colour. That's where that next tonal value is. I've worked it out using my tonal value tool reference. I've worked out where that is, so let's just go for it. Mine's still wet, so I'm not going to go for it. I'm going to blast it with a hairdryer though. You can see some of those lines disappearing. I was hoping I could save that little treat to the end, but hey ho. Okay, so we've got there's definitely a little sort of crevice of light, and I'm painting around those precious white marks we made earlier as well. You could use masking fluid to make this a bit easier on yourself on those white bits. Or you could just embrace the challenge. It does make it a little bit hard, but that's okay. So this one kind of comes down roughly sort of there. I'm filling in that whole space. So this is cheaper paper, so you can see it's starting to buckle under the tremendous strain of water I'm putting on here. I might change brushes actually, because this brush holds a lot of water. It's a really fancy pants brush. Let's change to a synthetic brush. This was about 80p. This brush, it's fabulous. I use it all the time. It's probably one of my most picked up brushes. It's just such an all-rounder. Okay, so that comes on there. Then you've got a kind of heart shape, bum shape, whatever you want to call that shape. I'm going to leave a little tiny gap up there. Again, I'm trying to be quick. The speed will just help it not look so laboured. And you can connect up this other section here. Let's just tip that so it runs down. And pull it through there. Okay. So again, right, I'm going to sort of try and copy where that comes down. Then it's easy from here on in, because the only thing I'm trying to avoid is those white highlights I made earlier. But other than that, I'm just going over it, building up the tone, so I've got contrast. So I've got some contrast between this bit and this bit. Let's do the next piece. So you've got this kind of shape coming through here. Doesn't really matter if you're struggling with copying the shapes and they're kind of not perfect. It'll still work as long as you kind of get a roundabout sense of that shape. It'll still look good. So tail up here, gone about halfway or 2/3 of the way. And then this sort of shape. Keep picking up your paint. Top off excess if you need to, otherwise you'll end up big puddles like I've got. You can pull the paint from another section, it's quite a nice thing to do. This brush, even though it's so cheap as well, it's got an exquisite point on the end. It's great for precision. Very pleased with it. From a shop in the UK called Sostrene Grene. Forgive me, I don't know. It's clearly not English, is it? I don't know where they actually originate from, but it's a size 12 round. Great brush. Okay, at this point, I'm going to do the first layer in the shadow section, so let's do that now. So you can see I've coloured it in purple. That's because we're going to use a purpley colour. I'll show you how to make it. So it's this intense blue. Pick up a bit of that, smush that into your palette. Give your brush a really good clean. The pink, we're going to have to really go for it with the pink because it's not as powerful as the blue. So really warm that up and try and get as much in there as you can. I'm going to clean my brush and go for a bit more. Okay, and I've got quite a nice thick wash there, but first layer of anything has to be a bit thinner, so I've thinned it down a little bit for my first layer. And I'm just going to straight away tap off the excess. Little hair on there. We're trying not to touch the blue parts that are wet, but if you do, look, something magical happens. Oh my god, it blends into the blue, and that's actually not a bad thing at this point. Which, again, we're trying to work quickly, we're not messing about here. Nice big broad strokes. Press the brush into the page to get more surface area. Cool, I think I'm fine with that. Just blur out the edge a smidgen. Okay, right, this not quite dry, so I'm quickly going to blast it with the hairdryer because I'm going to go into the next layer on the dog. Back into the blue, just making it a little bit thicker this time. And we are layer 3 onto the balloon dog. Now, hopefully you've clocked it at this point. Like, where is that layer 3? Well, it's this extremely dark layer. So you can see it's this tone here. That's what we're painting on now. On this back here, that's where it is. I've done it in the blue for you, but you might not need it because it is kind of easier to see because it's so much darker. So let's get going with that. Yeah, my paint is definitely a bit thicker, which is exactly as it should be. If it's too watery, you won't get enough of a contrast here. Again, avoid your white highlights because you're precious. You laboured over those. Make sure they stay. Keep picking up paint. This kind of almost triangular shape. Here it's casting a shadow. Bit over here. Okay, I'm going to need the tonal value piece just on its own, just to kind of walk you through the rest. So let me just bring that up. Right, okay, we've got the whole thing now. I haven't done versions of this tonal value piece with the blue because I think you can tell, you can see. So you can see this extremely dark pieces where I've mirrored there and here. So let's find that dark piece and replicate that in the other bits. section, fine. Let's move on. A little bit in the tail. Okay, let's get up the next layer of our shadow on while we're at it as well. Let me find that layer 2 shadow so you can see. I bring up both. You can see there's 3 different tonal values in the shadow. We're just going to put the second one on, and I've done it in that purple again, so let's get that on. I've got the purple I made earlier, the thicker one this time because we're building up the tonal value, remember. If you're struggling, try and think about it as shape rather than thinking about, oh no, I need to figure out where that shadow's landing. Thinking about it as a shadow, forget that, just think about it.
Person detected is at the front door.
As a shape, sorry, that's someone at the front door. Fine, it's just my laugh. Someone comes right down there. Okay. I'm not going to do any blending at this point, just leaving it exactly as is. I'm going to try and I've gone over into the balloon dog with the shadow, so I'm just tidying that up. Fine. Let's leave that exactly as is and give it a good blast with the hairdryer. Oh, my pen has disappeared now, which is quite nice. It's sort of strange at this point though. You can leave it exactly like this if you wanted to, or we can advance it and I can show you the next step. So you can see in the reference there's some really nice blur going on that I can see. Actually, this line isn't harsh on the reference, it's very, very blurry. Some blur going on here. There's also the odd kind of sharp line here and there though as well. So in the whole reference you've got blurred colours, blurred tones and sort of sharp tones. So what we're going to do, give your brush a really good dunk in the water, sort of tap off the excess off the side of your water cup and just gently just tickle these sections. So I'm not scrubbing this on here, I'm just gently tickling it on, just to try and get water on the whole section. Pick up your piece if you feel like you can't see where you've put water. So some of the ones with more pigment are starting to blur out. I'm just gently tickling water over the whole thing. Right, I'm going to stop here. I've done these sections with this tickly kind of thing. And just because I really want those highlights back, I'm going to clean the brush and really dry it off. So give it a good old press into the kitchen towel and then just drag over those, get those back. Those precious, precious highlights, get those back. And I'm not going to try and manipulate the blending at all really, I'm just going to leave it. You can, oops, you can blur out those, try and sort of smush them if you want. I don't think you need to. I think actually the odd kind of line here and there doesn't hurt this painting. Let's do it in the middle. The tail, make sure there's enough water so you are actually disturbing that paint a smidgen. Just going over the whole thing. Cleaning and drying off the brush, really pressing it into the kitchen towel just to get the highlights back. Dry, dry, dry. Okay. And that's that. Let's do it for the shadow as well. So no messing about. I can connect it with the wet part of the dog as well. Just water. And that will naturally give it a really subtle blur. So yeah, we're kind of there. I'm going to let this dry naturally. Okay, nice little trick to do at this point. I'm going to take a picture of my balloon dog with my phone. And I'm going to put that through a filter. Edit. Obviously your phone will have a different way, but this is fine. It doesn't really matter. The only thing I'm doing is just putting it through a grayscale, and I want to see if my grayscale is about right. So it's looking kind of good. It looks kind of where it needs to. I think perhaps my shadow down here is a little touch dark. I'm not going to worry about that though. And then looking at the original reference, so where are the actual like really dark pieces on this balloon dog? I think you can see in there, in this crevice kind of bit here, is extra dark, so I'm gonna add a bit more just to kind of amp up the 3D effect. There's a dark bit up there too, I think. Just another bit, a touch more tone. A bit in there. Maybe a bit on his nose. A little bit under the chin there. I want a little bit in there as well. Where else? So there's definitely a bit of a more of a shadow in that bit. Oh, a shadow there. Okay, so with a very dry brush that I've cleaned and pressed into the kitchen towel, I'm just going to gently tease some of the edges on those bits I've just added, just to make them look a little bit more pro. And that is it. just sign it. So I'm going to cut off this so it's a square piece. Otherwise it's just a strange composition with a huge gap over here. So imagine it like this, and we are done. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.